You booked this trip 14 months ago, not on impulse. This was planned, saved for. A 33-day voyage from Buenos Aires north through the Atlantic, stopping at some of the most remote places on Earth. Tristan da Cunha, the most isolated inhabited island in the world. St. Helena, where one of history's most famous exiles died. The Canary Islands as the final port before flying home. The berth cost you 14,000 euros. Some people on this ship paid 22. You are retired. You have been talking about this trip for years. You flew to Argentina in March, 2 weeks early, because you wanted to see the country before the ship left. Your traveling companion, your partner of 31 years, packed the binoculars. You are both bird watchers. Argentina is one of the most extraordinary places on Earth for it. You spent 2 weeks before the ship moving through the grasslands and wetlands of Argentina and Chile and Uruguay looking at birds. The landscape is extraordinary. The species are extraordinary. You are crouching near field edges and stream banks and anywhere that looks like good habitat. The rats don't register. They never register. They are background. They are everywhere in the world, rats. And you have been birdwatching for 40 years and they are simply part of the landscape. On the 1st of April, the ship leaves Buenos Aires. 149 passengers, 23 nationalities, the crew mostly from the Philippines. The dining room on the first night is full of the specific warm anticipatory energy of the beginning of a long voyage. You order wine. You introduce yourselves to the couple at the adjacent table. You feel, looking around the room, like you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Something was already in you when you boarded. You did not know this yet. The first week. The ship moves north and the days have the quality that long voyages produce. A rhythm that is entirely its own. Breakfast at a specific time. A lecture in the lounge about the next destination. Afternoons on deck with the binoculars. Dinner in the same dining room with the same people whose faces you are beginning to know. There is a man at one of the tables near the window. Dutch, 70 years old. Birdwatcher like you. He was on the same estancia in Argentina before the voyage, crouching near the same stream banks. His wife sits beside him at every meal. They have been together longer than you have been alive as a traveler. She cuts his food sometimes, not because he cannot do it himself, but because that is what 40 years looks like in practice. On the 6th of April, he feels unwell. It presents as it always presents in the early days, the way everything presents on a ship where people have been eating different food and drinking different water and adjusting to a different time zone. Fatigue, a fever, a general feeling of being not quite right. The ship's doctor sees him. It is consistent with a respiratory illness. Common, treatable with rest and fluids. He rests. He does not improve. You do not know any of this yet. You are on the top deck with your binoculars watching albatross over the South Atlantic. April 11th. The announcement is brief. A passenger has died. The ship's captain expresses his condolences. The details are not shared. These things happen on voyages of this length, particularly with passenger demographics that skew older. People understand this when they book. There is a sadness over the dining room that evening that is real but not alarming. His wife is not at dinner. You leave a note at her cabin. You do not know what else to do. She appears at breakfast 2 days later. She is composed in the way that some people are composed when the composure is holding something that will not hold forever. You speak briefly. She says he had not been well for several days. She says it happened quickly. You tell her you are sorry and mean it and return to your table, and that is the end of it, or so you think. On the 24th of April, the ship stops at St. Helena. 30 passengers disembark here. The voyage has been extraordinary. The remoteness of the island's extraordinary. But St. Helena is the scheduled midpoint, and some people had booked only to here. She is among the 30. She takes his remains with her. An air ambulance is arranged to Johannesburg. You watch from the dock. You wave. The second death. You don't hear about it immediately. You are at sea. The ship has its own information environment, partially insulated from the outside world. But the ship's doctor is not insulated from his own clinical concern, because on the 2nd of May, a second passenger is critically ill and the presentation is the same as the first. The lungs. It is always the lungs with this. What the virus does is find its way into the pulmonary tissue and begin a process that the immune system responds to with a ferocity that is ultimately the problem. The inflammation, the fluid, the body fighting so hard to clear the infection that it fills the spaces that are supposed to be full of air with the debris of its own response. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The case fatality rate among patients with severe respiratory symptoms is 38%. There is no treatment. There is no antiviral. There is support, oxygen, a ventilator, prayer. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes it isn't. On the 2nd of May, the WHO is notified. A cluster of severe acute respiratory illness aboard a Dutch-flagged cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. 2 deaths, 1 critically ill passenger. Hantavirus is suspected. The Andes virus specifically, which is the only known strain of hantavirus that spreads between humans. You find out the way everyone finds out now. Your phone reconnects to a satellite signal for a few hours and the notifications arrive in a rush, and somewhere in the middle of them is a news alert, and the news alert contains the name of your ship. You read it 3 times. You go to the window and look at the ocean. The ocean looks exactly the same as it did this morning. Inside the ship. The announcement comes from the captain. It is measured. It is honest in the way that announcements delivered by people who understand their legal obligations tend to be honest. There have been cases of a respiratory illness among passengers. Authorities have been notified. Out of an abundance of caution, passengers are being asked to practice physical distancing and to remain in their cabins where possible. The medical team on board is monitoring the situation closely. There is no cause for panic. There is, of course, something adjacent to panic, not the chaotic visible kind, the internal quiet kind, the specific sensation of being in an enclosed space with a recirculating air supply and a virus that the WHO says spreads through prolonged close contact and may be airborne and kills 38% of the people who develop severe symptoms. You count back. You have been on the ship for 30 days. You have eaten in the same dining room as a man who died from it. You have been in the same enclosed lounges, the same lecture room, the same narrow corridors. The incubation period is 1 to 8 weeks. 8 weeks. The mathematics of that are not comfortable to sit with. Your cabin feels different now. Not physically different. The same small window, the same narrow bed, the same hum of the engines that you have come to find reassuring over the past month. But the quality of being in it has changed. You are no longer in it by choice. The ocean outside the window no longer looks like freedom. It looks like perimeter. The ship's doctor is evacuated on the 6th of May. Air ambulance. 2 other critically ill passengers go with him. You watch the helicopter from the deck with the rest of the passengers who have not been asked to stay inside yet, though you will be in an hour, and the helicopter gets smaller over the water until it disappears and the ocean closes behind it, and the 347-meter distance between you and the nearest land is very clear to you. In a way, it was not this morning. The countries wake up. Your phone has become the window your cabin window used to be. You are tracking the news in real time. The CDC has classified this as a Level 3 emergency response. The WHO has published a disease outbreak notice. The national health authorities of 9 countries are engaged in contact tracing for the people who disembarked at St. Helena 2 weeks ago. She is dead. You didn't know this yet, but she is dead. The Dutchman's wife, who cut his food sometimes and left the ship in St. Helena with his remains, died in a Johannesburg hospital 2 days after she disembarked. She was 69. She had been infected on the ship or before it, or in the same grasslands where you were also crouching near stream banks looking at birds. The investigation is ongoing. The investigation is always ongoing. A Swiss man is in hospital in Zurich. He was one of the 30 who got off in St. Helena. He had been feeling fine when he disembarked. Fine in the way that an incubating virus allows a person to feel fine, which is to say the virus was there and active and replicating and moving through the machinery of his body while he walked through customs and boarded his flight home and slept in his own bed, and the symptoms arrived later because that is what an incubation period means. In the United Kingdom, a British military transport aircraft is flying to Tristan da Cunha, not with supplies, with paratroopers from the 16th Air Assault Brigade. Because one of the 220 residents of the most isolated inhabited island in the world is a person who disembarked from your ship there weeks ago, before anyone knew what the ship was carrying, and the island has no medical facility capable of dealing with this, and the only way to get medical equipment to the island in time is to drop it from altitude. You read this in your cabin. You look at your partner who is sitting on the edge of the bed with the binoculars in their lap, unused, and you both understand without saying it that the scale of what is happening is larger than the ship. Tenerife. The ship docks in the Canary Islands on the morning of May 10th. This was not the original itinerary. The original itinerary had other stops. Those stops were canceled. The Canary Islands president objected to the ship docking. Spain overruled him, citing its moral and legal obligation to the people aboard. You disembark with everyone else. 22 people come off before you, pulled aside by health workers in protective equipment, screened for symptoms, swabbed. You are in the next group. The dock is not how you imagine the end of this voyage. There is no champagne. There are no handshakes with the captain. There are white tents and PCR testing stations and officials from several national health agencies in a bus to a charter flight that will take you home to begin 45 days of self-isolation. 45 days. You will not see anyone outside your household for 45 days. You will monitor your temperature daily. You will report any symptoms immediately to a number that has been given to you on a laminated card. The symptoms to watch for are fever, fatigue, muscle aches, headache, nausea, dizziness. These are also the symptoms of almost everything else. The anxiety of 45 days of not knowing whether the fatigue you feel is the virus or the anxiety about the virus is its own particular hell. The flight is quiet. 22 passengers who have spent a month together on a ship and are now sitting in adjacent seats on a charter aircraft maintaining the maximum possible distance from each other. You look out the window at the Atlantic below you. Somewhere down there, the ship is still at dock. The crew is still on board. The investigation is ongoing. The environmental assessment of every shared space is ongoing. The contact tracing across 9 countries is ongoing. The quarantine. The flat they put you in is not yours. It is a self-contained unit at a hospital facility. Clean. Adequate. Profoundly. Specifically, not home. There is a window. The view is a car park. You are grateful for the window anyway. The call from the health authority comes every morning at 9. Same questions. Temperature. Any new symptoms? Any changes? You answer them with the precision of someone who has become expert in the inventory of their own body over the previous 2 weeks. You know which aches are new and which are old. You know what your normal temperature is and what it is not. You are monitoring yourself the way you used to monitor the sky for birds, watching for something that might not come, hoping it doesn't come, knowing that the watching itself is part of the protocol that keeps other people safe if it does. Your partner is in the flat too. You have not spent this much uninterrupted time together since the early years. You play cards. You watch things on a laptop. You talk more than you have talked in years, which is both the unexpected gift and the irony of a situation that produced it. You call your children every day. They are frightened in a way they are trying to hide from you, which is to say they are not hiding it very well. You tell them the truth, which is that you feel fine, which is also not quite the full truth because fine does not fully capture what it is to sit in a flat with a car park view, knowing that a virus with a 38% fatality rate in severe cases may or may not be incubating in you. The days pass. Your temperature remains normal. The symptoms do not come. On the 45th day, the monitoring period ends. You are cleared. You go home. What you carry back. The ship is still being investigated. The environmental assessment found no evidence of rodents on board. The current theory is that the index case, the 70-year-old Dutch birdwatcher who died on the 11th of April, contracted the virus in the grasslands of Argentina or Chile before boarding. He and his wife had been on the same estancias, near the same stream banks, in the same habitat as the long-tailed rice rat, which is the rodent reservoir for the Andes virus in South America. You were on those estancias too. You were crouching near the same stream banks. The binoculars that sat unused on the edge of the bed in your cabin for the last 2 weeks of the voyage are the same binoculars you were using in Argentina in March. The grass that the rats moved through is the same grass you were moving through. You did not get sick. This is the thing that the data cannot fully explain and that you cannot stop thinking about. Not gratitude exactly. Something stranger than gratitude. The awareness that whether you got sick or did not get sick is not a reflection of anything you did or did not do. It is a fact of exposure and immune response and timing and chance. The line between you and the cases is not a line you drew. 11 confirmed or suspected cases, 3 deaths, countries on 5 continents conducting contact tracing, military paratroopers dropping medical equipment onto the most isolated island in the world, a French woman in an intensive care unit attached to an artificial lung, the WHO Director General answering questions in Madrid. All of this from a birdwatching trip through Argentina and a cruise ship carrying 149 passengers from 23 countries across the Atlantic. You unpack your bags at home. You find the laminated card with the symptoms listed on it: fever, fatigue, muscle aches, headache, nausea, dizziness. You put it in the recycling bin. You book nothing for a while. You sit in your own living room with your own view and your own temperature and your partner across the room with the binoculars on the shelf. They are staying on the shelf for now. Outside, the birds are doing what they were always doing. You watch them through the window. It is enough for now.